welcome to our webinar on driving change with WorkBuzz ACT. This is a very much client-focused webinar. It's going to be led by myself, Melissa Foster, Mel, for most of you that will know me. I've been at WorkBuzz for almost 7 years, working in customer success and experience within our consultancy team. And now I'm responsible for our whole client experience, making sure that you get the best out of WorkBuzz and that our teams are partnering with you along your journey of employee listening. Today, I'm joined by the wonderful Lewis. Lewis, do you want to introduce?
Yeah, hi everybody. My name's Lewis North. I'm the Chief Technology Officer at WorkBuzz. So I head up the product and engineering teams and have the responsibility of making sure that we are building all the right features and products to help you solve problems in your organizations and really bring you a lot of value. So I've been very involved in the development of this product and this new feature in WorkBuzz. So yes, have the privilege of giving you a short demo of that today as well, and letting you have a look at what this product looks like and how we've got there and the decisions we've made along the way to build this product, and yeah, hopefully really have an impact on how you drive change in your organizations.
Great. And I think during this webinar, I think there's a Q&A box. Please do ask questions. We might not be able to get onto them, just conscious that we have 30 minutes and there's a lot to show you and bring you up to speed with. But if we can't answer your question within the webinar, we will absolutely make sure that we contact you directly via email. So try not to post any questions anonymously if you want an answer, because that will help us make sure that we regroup with you. And of course, you can always contact us through your customer success managers, our support team, or directly to Lewis and I if you have a direct question.
Yep, great. Right, let's kick on. So there's a couple of bits we're going to run through today. We're going to have a look at what we've learned from you in talking to lots of our customers about how you drive change in your organizations. We'll have a look at why driving change matters, and then having a look at driving change the WorkBuzz way. And then we'll do a product demo as well, which will be a live demo of how our product works and how you can use that. So just starting with what we've learned from you, a big part of this process, and the origin story of this is from WorkBuzz Live, not this year, last year, where we talked about driving change. And we know how hard that is for all of you to implement this. And we've asked you to come on the journey with us and help us explore how you do that in your organizations and help us to develop a model of what best practice looks like. Obviously, with our people science team, we've been implementing this for a long time and helping organizations to understand how to do this. But then it's looking at what happens on your side and how do we implement that in your organization. So it's very much focused around that. We've been heavily reliant on our customer advisory board as well, who've helped us to understand this. And these are some of the things we've learned from those conversations. So it really varies how much information people leaders in your organizations are given when a survey closes. And really, this is about closing that feedback loop and what happens between surveys and how you drive change. So it really varies how much information some people leaders are given. We understand that best practice is for them to have access to our dashboards so that they can slice and dice the data and really get a feel for what they're seeing. We understand that absolutely this is a carrot and not a stick. It's a tool to aid better conversations between people leaders and their team members and up and down the hierarchy of the business. So absolutely, it's a tool for conversation and it's not a substitute for that. We know that we will have to keep this very simple. We don't want this to become this whole industry that you have to maintain it. And it's about coaching better people leaders to give them the tools to enable them to do proper action planning with their team. And we understand the impact that has on the performance of your teams as well. We also know that this quite often rolls down from the top. So the rollout of these action plans start at the exec level. So they're consuming the results of the surveys first, formulating their plans that feeds down through the organization. And quite often there are time gaps between that rollout. So you may start at the top, review your results and formulate your action plans, and then have a number of weeks, say, before it rolls down into the departments, then into the teams and further down through the organization. And really, again, it's about demonstrating that you are taking action based on the feedback you've received from your employees. So things like you said, we did campaigns.
Right.
So now,
yeah, I think for me, ultimately, we've built this in mind, and this is probably preaching to the converted, being people that are already joining this webinar, wanting to drive change through action planning, is that we need to make sure that we're driving change when we're doing employee listening and when we're surveying and asking for feedback. A lot of you talk to me about survey fatigue, and we always have a question about survey fatigue, but really with listening and employee listening, it's always about demonstrating that return on investment in terms of that employee's investment to give you their feedback, to spend time completing the survey. How do you demonstrate that you've heard them, that you're empowering them to take action and help evidence what change you're taking as an organization or as teams throughout the organization that have heard, listened, and taken on board that employee feedback? That's really critical. So that ROI is one piece. The other piece is around alignment. So there will always be differences within organizations. I've seen some wonderful things in organizations where I've seen teams of scores of engagement scores of 100, and within the same organization, teams with engagement scores of 0. So finding those outliers, making sure that we're coaching, we're sharing best practices, we are aligning to the organizational strategic initiatives and understand where the commonalities are, but also where people are outliers in certain areas, that we can pick on those and focus on the areas that they need to lift and improve. We think as well with action planning and driving the change, collaboration is critical. So including your teams and setting goals, monitoring progress, making sure they're included in every conversation and update, and are getting constant communications about how you're tracking against those goals and that they're measurable. And then finally, around performance, ultimately, and the bit that we know that our HR professionals that we're working with and have found out that this is quite critical from our state of employee engagement research, is that we're focusing on performance and productivity more and more. And quite often with engagement surveys, we know that people are running them, but never necessarily closing that loop back about how productive have we been, how many actions have we created across the organization. So we're trying to create something that will help you demonstrate that back to the wider organization, enable you to retain that talent, and ultimately, as you can imagine, here to improve that employee experience and output of employee engagement.
Yep, fantastic. And
for us, it's about doing it the WorkBuzz way.
Yeah, and it's demonstrating a return on investment, within WorkBuzz as a platform, that you are getting the most out of it. And, really, we want to see those engagement scores moving up over time. And that this is how we envisage that you will do that, by driving change between those pulses and those surveys.
Yeah, and as Lewis said earlier, a lot of this we've been doing in people science for years, and our people scientists, they've been doing it for decades. But for us, it was about creating a tool that's really easy and simple to use, that doesn't just focus on areas to improve, but areas to celebrate, that we're looking at what questions you're asking. And something that we're really proud of at WorkBuzz is your ability to flex and tailor our own questions to meet your needs. So making sure that action planning tool enables you to flex and tailor the goals and sub actions that you'll take to suit, again, your needs as a team or as an organization. Making sure things are actionable and that we can make it really simple to track. I think we've done a lot of learning and listening within our customer advisory board and when we've been building this product, and realised that a certain percentage completion at one point was never going to work, and only by iterating with customers have we really come to that realisation. So we appreciate that partnership from our clients to help us lift the product and make sure that it is the right fit for you.
Yeah, and it's about making sure that, to Mel's point about percentages, if we used a percentage indicator of completion, it's so open to interpretation of what that is. They really need to be things that, is this done or not, as a measurable thing, because otherwise, there's grey areas in there as to what the progress is like on those actions.
Absolutely. And I think for us, again, it's the WorkBuzz way is all about involving others, being inclusive. So collaborations are a critical part of this. Understanding that action planning, and even once you put the action plan in place, it's not done by any means. It's iterative, it's continuous. We always have to revisit it. We're finding more and more that these action plans do cascade from the top. As much as action planning should be top down and bottom up, quite often it needs to start from top down. So we're seeing that cascade need to be taken, that approach. But it will take time for you to take your team on the journey, get your line managers upskilled, and make sure that they are ready to take on their focus areas and action and build their action plans with their teams to standardize a process across an organization. The other part of the tool that I really love is how focused it is. I think it is really simple. Lewis is going to crack into a demo really shortly. And something that we've developed is these suggested focus areas, which suggests the areas of improvement based on WorkBuzz algorithms, so that we're still tailoring to make sure that you're getting the right focus rather than those low scoring questions, which anybody in HR knows pay will always be there. Rather than focusing on those, looking at those that are really going to drive the dial and improving employee engagement, where you have opportunity to still improve it, but that it is going to actually turn the dial rather than do nothing and not really impact employee engagement.
Just picking up on the standardizing the process piece, I was talking to John Backhouse, who's head of people science at our Christmas do last night, actually. We're that boring, we talk about work at a social event. But anyway, he was giving me an example of a client of ours who had been running action planning within the organization prior to having a tool like this, and they'd been collecting all of their action plans from across the business, and they literally had action plans written on the back of menus as part of that. So, you know, people are off scattergun, developing these things in silos and not having a central place to do all of that. And we're very conscious of that when we build this, that it needs to be a standardized way to collect this information so that you can report on it again later. So that's super important for us. And I think the other piece around collaboration is evidence shows that the teams who work together to formulate those goals and those actions that they want to take are more likely to succeed in completing them. So it's a really collaborative process. And again, sort of leading back to that piece around it's a tool to encourage conversation. It's exactly that. It's sitting down with your people, showing them the results of your surveys, highlighting these focus areas, and then discussing with them which is the most appropriate actions for you to implement to drive change. Yeah, all right. Good.
Let's crack into it.
So let's have a little look at the demo. Just bear with me a second whilst I swap screen shares. Go on, where's it going? Sorry, there it is. That's because it's opened a new window. It confused me there.
Yeah.
Right.
Zoom screen.
You should be able to see my screen. So if we go back to a report here, so this is our dashboard screen, which hopefully you're all very familiar with. So here we go. So we're back into a kind of the pulse surveys, and these are our survey results that you're all familiar with. Now, the temptation when you're considering where to take action is to dive straight in on the low numbers. So if we look at growth here at 56, you can see as well that's benchmarked down 13. So again, a very low score on I received the training I need to do my job effectively. Low score of 41, and it's benchmarked down 27 as well. Now, the temptation is to dive in on a topic like that, but actually, if you see here, the impact on engagement for that question is low, and that is a measure of how people have answered that question in relation to our engagement questions. So actually, by driving change against this, you're going to have less of an impact on improving your overall engagement score. So we would recommend that that's not typically a question that you would focus on. So where the impact on engagement is low, even if the score is low, it wouldn't be our recommendation of where you focus. So if I go back to here, and go down to growth. Sorry, not growth. Go to well-being. So here we have an example of well-being, which is also a low score of 46. Now you can see this is a high impact on engagement question of how would you rate your mental health right now. So because the score is low as well and it's benchmarking low, this is a prime candidate for somewhere that you would focus your attention on driving change against. Now, that's great. If you have access to the dashboard, you can do that and go and experiment and look at all the different questions in the survey and find those places to focus. If we click into ACT now, so this now opens up our action planning tool. Now, if you imagine this is first time you've had access to this, this tool or this product, the survey has closed and you're presented with effectively an empty action plan. Now, it's worth highlighting this is a living document. So we see that this would continue to be used throughout the year. You can keep adding actions to improve and to celebrate, and it will evolve over time, and actions will get completed and drop off the bottom of that list, that kind of thing. But it probably the first time you would see this, like this is an empty tool, is right at the beginning of that journey. And as you continue on your listening journey, this will continue to evolve over time. So here we have this empty action plan. And again, we have these principles of goals to improve. So actions taken that you think you need to improve based on your survey results, and then actions to celebrate as well. So creating goals of things that you should celebrate that you are doing well. So I think if we go back to here and we had a good score on company values, which is in purpose. So here we have a very high impact on engagement question of I understand our company values. We're scoring really well at 96 and it's benchmarking high. So that's a great candidate for us to celebrate. So if I go back to here, I'm going to create a goal. And it was values, wasn't it? So again, it's loaded in the questions from the survey, so I can quickly select those. I understand our company values, and I want to create an action for that. I have one pre-prepared, so you don't have to watch me type, which no one needs to see that. So the goal title, yes, is to reinforce the company values within the team. So I create that as a goal. You can see here now it's pegged back to the question of I understand our company values, and I can go ahead and create an action for that. Now, what you will see on the screen there is it's very simple to create the action title. The action, we have a title, which I'm just going to copy that in there. So encourage team members to consider values in decision making. And then I'm going to set a due date for this. So let's just say by the end of January for that one. And I'm going to paste in my instructions of what I'm going to do with my team. So I'm going to embed the company's values into everyday activities and decision-making processes, encourage employees to think about how actions align with the values and recognize and reward those who exemplify them. So I've created that and I've got my action here. And again, I can go ahead and add more actions to that. We typically say that best practice is probably to have up to, say, 3 goals to celebrate and 3 to improve. And part of that is, if you add lots and lots of goals, it's too much noise. There's no focus on anything. So we would recommend that we don't go above 3 goals in each. And again, you can have 1 to 3 kind of actions attached to each of those goals as well, whatever you need to feel like you've satisfied that goal. So we've got one in there to celebrate. Now, it might be we want to improve on one. And based on those survey results, I think we said it was well-being, wasn't it? Yeah. Mental health. So let's create a goal, which was, how would you rate your mental health right now? So focus on team's mental health. That's why you don't want to watch me type, because I get typos. So again, you can create a goal as simply as that. And again, where this is particularly useful is we talked earlier about alignment. Let's say that you have a company initiative to drive up utilization of a reward platform. It could be that that's not figured in the survey, but actually that's come on board since, and you want to create a goal in your team to drive up utilization. So it could be creating a goal to say, demonstrating how I've benefited from the reward system,
Yeah.
reward platform, and highlighting savings I've made and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, certain things, like I know a lot of people at the moment are trying to activate more people onto their employee assistance program, things like that. There's little nudges and things that are quantifiable and some that aren't. It depends on what your goals are and what you have in place.
Yeah.
But yeah, lots of flex here in terms of building your own goals and actions.
So what we've also understood is that for lots of people leaders, they need a bit of guidance on where to focus. And we see this particularly where people are very busy, and also in deskless environments as well. They don't have opportunity to sit down and process as much as they would like. So we have developed this focus areas. Now, we are working on various algorithms of what's going to give us the best performance here. But what we have in this example is it's looked at the survey results and it's looked at the impact on engagement score. It's looked at my score in my team in this example and how that compares against the company average and how it compares versus previous as well. So if it's trending down, that kind of thing. So it's developed then these 3 focus areas for me, and it's kind of giving laser guided focus to say, these are the top 3 things that you should focus on with your team. So I receive recognition for good work is where I need to focus. So I can go ahead and click add goal. You can see it's already connected it to my question. So I am going to say, I got it here, recognition. I'll just type something in. So recognize team members good work. So that's my goal, and it's added it into my action plan, which you can see here. So I could go ahead and create some actions to do that with my team. Now, what we have developed then is an action library. So if I go into the action library here, this is a pool of best actions that we've developed with our people science team and with some external HR consultants, as this is best practice on how you drive change against these particular questions in your survey. So I think the example we had was I receive recognition. So recognition. There we go. And it's flagged that. You probably, let me just do that again. So you can see here, it's flagged the top 3 focus areas for me. And this is tailored to me as a team leader in our organization. So these may well be different across different team leaders. So if I click on recognition, you can see it's shortened down this list to these top 3 things. So if I go into this first one, what's important here is this is the kind of the what, the why, and the how. So the what is provide feedback and recognition regularly. I receive recognition for good work is the what I need to change. The why here is the benefits of implementing this action. So regular feedback and recognition are essential components of open and honest communication. So that, like, this is why you need to drive change against that. And then the how is how you implement this with your team. So there's a step-by-step guide on how you do that. I can add that to my goal. So we select the goal. Was it good work? Values, wasn't it? No, doesn't matter. And I set a date. There we go. Add to goal. So that's added that straight into my action plan. As you can see down here. Is it this one?
Yeah.
This one. Yep. So you can see here, it's added it straight into my action plan. Now, what we then have are these very simple statuses to say that you're working on them. We deliberately start them in draft because you may want some of them to run concurrently or sequentially. And as you mark them as complete, you can see here these little pips here denote the colouring to say if you're what status they are. And once we've completed both of our actions, we then have the ability to mark the goal as complete. So if I click on that, are you sure you want to mark it as complete? And there we go. We get fireworks to celebrate that we've completed our goal. So again, the vision here is that you would then be sitting down with your team leaders to walk through this together to update on progress. So it could be that you, if we quickly create an action, as you are working through this over time, you could then also be updating notes to say, I have implemented this in the team, and these are the following things that have happened. This is how we're progressing with this action. So it'll give you a really good kind of way of keeping notes and keeping track of what's happening with those actions with your team.
Exactly.
So there's a kind of really whistle-stop tour of our action planning tool, and we're really excited to get your feedback on it.
Yeah.
And
and I think it's hopefully something that will help you in terms of leaps and bounds. Something that I'm really conscious of, and something that we talk about a lot in our customer bank, is how we promote lots of people without the capability and the training to become great line managers. And quite often the softer skills, the HR skills, and employee engagement is missing in their armory. So really what we're trying to do is really focus on that audience at this point, to take a lot of the pain out of trying to analyse employee engagement data and get their heads around it. So if we can provide them with that shift to start with the focus areas, and then they can then take that on board and learn through that over the years to come, I think it will better arm those line managers and hopefully enhance that employee experience as you enhance the people leaders around you. And move a lot of the focus away from HR, who have had to in the past create those focus areas for everyone. So hopefully something that's simpler for you all.
Yeah, it's probably worth noting the action library as well here. We very much see this as a start point, and this will develop more over time. And we're looking to do things like have ways of providing peer-to-peer notes on it and sharing best practice and commenting. And in time, we see there being the opportunity to have a bespoke action library for you. So you could tailor this with WorkBuzz actions, but also actions that you've developed yourself, or that work with you and your team, are very specific to your organization or your industry, that kind of thing as well. So this will continue to develop over time, and we're super excited to see how it's used, how it's utilized, how we can continue to develop it, and turn it into a world-beating product that's really going to make a massive difference for you.
Wow. So I think we'll just wrap up. We'll just check the questions. We've got a few questions, but I am conscious of time and that we are tight today with a half an hour in. So apologies for that. But
stop sharing. Go Q&A.
We're driving.
There we go. So a couple of questions we've got here. Hello, is everyone who has access to the dashboard able to create their own action plan? Yeah, so you need dashboard access to be able to have access to action planning. It's worth mentioning as well that this is part of WorkBuzz Premium as a product.
Yeah, and I think also, so everybody will be able to create their own action plan. And I think also with this other question here, it is related to the site and manager. It's that specific. It gives them their focus areas, but they have to have access to the tool first, the WorkBuzz report, before they then get the action planning. Understandably, they should see their data before then we suggest focus areas. We're big believers that transparency is key in these pieces. And then I think around the tool for life cycle, it won't suggest focus areas, but you can collate actions in this tool.
Absolutely, yeah. It could be, so it won't automatically pull through questions from life cycle surveys, but you could absolutely use it to drive change against that and improve that, and particularly things around retention. If you're seeing patterns in the exit surveys, for example, you could certainly weave those into your action plans as well.
Great. I think that's all the questions we have time for today, but a huge thank you from Lewis and I for joining us for this whistle-stop tour of ACT. But of course, as always, our inboxes are fully open. If you want to learn any more, if you've got any questions, please just get in contact. We'd be more than happy to continue the discussion with you all. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Have a great Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody.